Matt Bernier Show here on a Friday. We've got all sorts of issues going on. It's opening day. Apparently there's some issues behind me in production. That's all right. We're going to make do with it. Again, July the 22nd, opening day at Saratoga Racecourse, upstate New York. I'm Matt Bernier. You can follow me on Twitter at Bernier_Matt. Generally, the way this show goes, we're on live on DRF Live every Friday at noon Eastern, I should say, 9 a.m. Pacific. If you listen podcast version, SoundCloud, YouTube, DRF.com. Now iTunes is finally up and going, so you've got that option as well. What I was saying before we had our little malfunction with technology. Technology is a great thing until it doesn't work correctly. I feel like today should be a national holiday. We've always just been building and building and building. We had Del Mar opening last weekend. We've got Saratoga opening this weekend, and it just kind of sets off the next 6 weeks where you've got the best racing, really, bar none. It's second to none. Keeneland, we love Keeneland. Del Mar, we love Del Mar. But at the end of the day, the 40 days up at Saratoga are better than any other racing days throughout the entire year, with the exception of the Breeders' Cup and maybe the big event days, Kentucky Derby, Belmont Stakes, Preakness, and whatnot. So Saratoga, a lot of good things, a lot of excitement, a lot of positive things. Really, though, what is the meet about? The meet is really about the 2-year-olds and possibly seeing who the superstars down the road could be and who maybe next year's Kentucky Derby winner can be, next year's Kentucky Oaks winner. The 2-year-olds are the focus of the entire meeting. You have some really good grass racing, and don't get me wrong, you've got older horses that run. You've got 3-year-olds that will be making their stamping their sort of arrival anyway for the 3-year-olds with the Travers, the Midsummer Derby. But really the racing meet revolves around the 2-year-olds, where Todd Pletcher always has a good hand of 2-year-olds. Chad Brown's always going to be shooting, but especially this year it seems like everything is going well for him, and it really feels like he's going to end up winning this training title. If I had to make a projection down the road as far as who would win the title, I would say Chad Brown's probably going to beat Todd Pletcher this year. But the 2-year-olds are really the mainstay and the focus, and what makes Saratoga, where we've just been waiting and waiting and waiting to unveil all these babies and see if any of them can end up being superstars. And speaking about babies, we'll talk about 3 races coming up this weekend, 2 of them here on opening day. The Schuylerville, the Lake George. We'll also talk about the Grade 1 Diana coming up tomorrow afternoon. That'll be on DRF Live starting at 4 Eastern. Myself and Mike Beer. But the superstars do come out to play at Saratoga, and we won't really touch on it a lot, but Sunday we're going to have one of the biggest names in our sport, Songbird. She's going to make her first trip. Well, I shouldn't say her first. She was here for the Breeders' Cup in October at Keeneland. She's going to be making her first trip to New York anyway. She'll be running at Saratoga in the Coaching Club American Oaks on Sunday. It's only a field of 5, but it's a very strong field. You've got Karina Mia from Bill Mott. She'll be going from a 1-turn mile out to a 1 1/8, going 2 turns. That just is kind of Saratoga in a nutshell, where you get the biggest names that there are. And unfortunately, we're not going to get one name in particular, but guess what? We'll see him tomorrow afternoon as well. He'll be at Del Mar, though. And again, not trying to knock Del Mar or Keeneland or anyone else. Just saying that the product at Saratoga is second to none. Doesn't mean that the other products aren't very good as far as the summer racing is concerned. And again, at Del Mar, you've got some good things going on. Specifically tomorrow, because it's the return of California Chrome, and he'll be running in the San Diego Handicap. That's the local prep for the Grade 1 Pacific Classic at the end of August. And it looks like this race is set up for him to take care of business. This is just sort of a stopgap to get to the big events. He's going to have to run against Dortmund, though. And Dortmund, we haven't seen him since last November at Del Mar. It's been about 8 months at this stage in the game. And who knows what Dortmund we're going to get. It seems like his feet have been a problem. Bob Baffert's had a hard time getting him under control. It sounds like he's coming into it in good form. His most recent workout, a lot of people raving about it. It'll be interesting to see if he can finally get things going and actually get a race under his belt. And then not only that, can he build on it? Can he come back a few weeks later and run again in a Grade 1? It'll be interesting to see. It seems like on paper it's very much a 2-horse race between California Chrome and Dortmund. And many people would argue that it is just a 1-horse race in California Chrome. We'll see. It'll be interesting to see how Dortmund comes back to the races. But again, kind of an odd and choppy here intro just because of some issues that we had. But the idea is it's opening day at Saratoga. It sounds like the weather upstate New York is fantastic. I believe it's high 80s, low 90s. It's a little bit cooler than it is here in the city today. It's brutal here. It's about 98 degrees and humid, and I think it's supposed to be like that for the rest of the weekend. So it sounds like good stuff up in Saratoga. Opening day, you've got 2 graded stakes races, the Grade 3 Schuylerville for the 2-year-old fillies, and you've got the Grade 2 Lake George for the 3-year-old fillies. It'll be interesting to see how those 2 races go. We'll go over those 2 as well as the Grade 1 Diana in a bit. When we take a break here on the show and come back, we'll look at 4 races that we went over last weekend here on the Matt Bernier Show, including the Indiana Oaks, the Indiana Derby, the Yellow Ribbon, and the Kent from Delaware Park. Stay with us.
Quite frankly, everyone should sign up for DRF Bets. The 5 great reasons to join DRF Bets is a sign-up bonus. That's number 1. You're going to get money right in your account, right off the bat, so you can go out and play the races. After that, you have rewards, HD video, free PPs, and then it's very easy to get your money in and out, so you can bet when you want. I want everything to be easy, and DRF Bets makes it easy for me.
Get a $25 free bet just for giving DRF Bets a try. That's $25, no strings. Get a $25 free bet just for giving DRF Bets a try. That's $25, no strings attached. Part of a $200 all-cash bonus. New players get up to $100 in free bets, plus a $100 bet and get bonus. That's $200 in bonuses from the only online wagering site offering free DRF PPs. Find out more at drfbets.com/freebet.
.1208 East Coast, 908 West Coast, the Matt Bernier Show on DRF Live. If you listen podcast version, YouTube, SoundCloud, DRF.com, and now we are up on iTunes. I know it took a little while, but we're finally on, so that one person in particular can stop just barking at me and saying, you know, if I get it on iTunes, I can listen to it whenever I want. You're welcome. iTunes is all set to go. So here we are, opening day up at the Spa, Saratoga Race Course. It's going to be interesting to see. We've got a lot of good racing to come, obviously over the next 40 racing days up there in Saratoga Springs, but also just today in particular, you got 2 graded stakes races. We'll go over those in a little bit. If you're new to the show, the way this whole thing works, we go over races at the end of the show. We come back the following week, recap them for better or for worse, whether I was good, bad, or indifferent. And that's what we're going to do right now. This is the handicapping review segment of the show. We went over 4 races last weekend before I quickly took off and went up to Woodbine. And by the way, if you've never been to Woodbine, you've got to get up there. They do it the right way. Everyone up there is fantastic. They treat everyone awesome. I feel like that's a very Canadian thing, maybe so more so above an American thing in the midst of all of our political nonsense that's going on left and right. And I'm not into politics, and I don't really care what your politics are. But my point is, people in Canada just seem to be nicer all around. So if you've never been to Woodbine, you've got to get up there and check it out. They do it the right way. Before I went up there, we went over 4 races. The first one was the Indiana Oaks, and it was an interesting race. It looked like you had a horse in there from Wayne Catalano, the number 7 Family Tree, who was just razor sharp, was coming into it in great form. He had a couple of new shooters and interesting faces. He had MZ coming in for Bob Baffert. He had a couple other runners that I thought were mildly intriguing, particularly the number 8 Walkabout I thought was a little bit interesting. I thought going into the race the most likely winner was the 7 Family Tree. I thought a live long shot was the 8 Walkabout. My pick in the race was MZ. And really, when you watch the race, Family Tree never looked like a loser. She was in the clear throughout, stalking just off the pace. MZ made her move going into the far turn. Family Tree just kind of followed right along, never really got out of any sort of a gallop, and went on to win for fun. She won off at 7-5, and the big thing when we do go into the handicapping preview portion of the show, you'll see that the slates that we put up with the fields, there are odds to the far right of the screen if you're watching live, and I'm going to sort of verbalize it for you, particularly today, because we've got a lot of scratches already, so the numbers that you'll see on the screen are a little bit different and skewed. They're my odds, what I would consider fair value with these horses that I would need to play them to win. Family Tree went off at 7-5. She was 2-1 on my line, therefore there was no win wager. I used her in multi-race wagers, but as far as a win bet is concerned, I didn't think she offered any value at 7-5. The live long shot, the 8 Walkabout, she went off at 13-1. I made her 7-1 on my line, so that would have at least represented a little bit of value. At the end of the day, I didn't think she was a likely winner. I wanted to use her underneath her as some sort of a home run in a multi-race wager. She finished 5th at 13-1. So the Indiana Oaks, pretty formful. I thought the most likely winner was the 7 Family Tree. She wins at 7-5. Live long shot, the 8 Walkabout. She ran 5th, and you know what? I have no complaints about it. She was a bit of a long shot to begin with. Took a shot. She ran okay. The Indiana Derby, Cupid, it was one of those things we talked about it. If Cupid ran his race, he was just simply better than everyone else. Now, look, it was an absolute eyesore, I thought, watching Cupid come down the lane on his left lead, never changed leads at any point. A lot of people going into this race were really high on the player. Understandably so. He looked like he was sort of the new face coming into it in good form. If the player couldn't get Cupid last Saturday night, he's never going to get Cupid because he had the perfect setup. He had every opportunity to go by him down the lane, and he just could not close the deal. I thought Cupid at 8-5 was a little bit short. I made him 5-2, but I thought he was the most likely winner. He got it done. I thought the 5 Seeking Blame was a little bit of an interesting live long shot. I made him 12-1. He went off at 16-1. He finished 5th. He made a bit of a bit on the far turn and flattened out down the lane. He's probably not that good, but at the end of the day, he's still lightly raced. Maybe there is some more room for improvement. So again, kind of a chalky race. Cupid gets it done at odds of 8-5. Let's take a look at some racing this time around. The Yellow Ribbon I thought was an interesting race. Could have gone a bunch of different ways. I thought a vulnerable favorite on the morning line anyway, and I didn't know if she would actually go off as the favorite, but she indeed did, was the 2 Nancy from Nairobi. I thought it was a wide open race. I had made her 9-2, and I didn't give you a most likely winner just because I thought the race was wide open. As they turn for home, let's take it. Nancy from Nairobi, she was the favorite, and look, she went off at 2-1. I didn't think there was much of an excuse. The real racing started going into the far turn. You see Carrie Bell down on the inside, pinching Finest City. On the outside, you've got, she's not here, and I could not figure this horse. I didn't think that she had much of a chance in here. I didn't like her recent form. You see the 2 Nancy from Nairobi right now, just hitting her best stride late. If you want to say the pace wasn't blistering and it kind of hindered anyone coming from the back of the pack, I'm not going to argue with you. The real racing, though, and that race in particular, I want to see how the horses come out of it ultimately, because it seemed like going into the far turn prize exhibit, when Santiago Gonzalez angled her route off the rail, again, we've talked about it, she's a bit of a loose cannon. She can be her own worst enemy. And I don't think Gonzalez really had much of a choice. He just said, all right, we're going to go out into the clear, and she pulled herself right into it. So they really started racing early on, along with the horse that I ended up betting in that spot, Carrie Bell. Changed the complexion of the race. It set up beautifully for She's Not Here. And like you say, it was a situation where Nancy from Nairobi was a little bit pace compromised. I thought she was a vulnerable favorite going into it. She went off as the 2-1 favorite, and she finished 3rd. I made her 9-2. So in a way, I'm going to look at that and say that was a check mark. The final race that we looked at last weekend was the Kent, the Grade 3 from Delaware Park. It was for 3-year-olds on the turf. I thought a vulnerable favorite was the 2 Inspector Lindley, simply because he does the same thing over and over and over again. He puts in a nice late bid. He comes, whether he's pace compromised, whether there's a trip issue. He still runs at the end, but he's only won 1 time. This was his 8th lifetime start as they turn for home. I thought anything below 6-1 was a vast underlay. And you see him on the outside in the Gianni Silks, the white and red. Rosario's getting into him. He's going to come. But at this point, you've got a horse like American Patriot for Pletcher that's got the jump on him. And yeah, he's on his left lead, and I hated watching the finish of this race. But this is Inspector Lindley in a nutshell, isn't it? He's going to need everything to go his way if he's ever going to get up and win one of these races. I thought he ran just fine. I don't think there's any sort of an issue with the way that he ran. But at the end of the day, he went off at 2-1. He was the second choice in the race. Do you really want to trust a horse that's going to be making that one run from the back of the pack each and every time at a short number? I made him 6-1, and maybe I was just being a little bit harsh on him. But at the end of the day, he finished, a good closing second or third at 2-1. I didn't think he was that good as far as the numbers were concerned. He's 1 for 8 now, and he likes to nibble. He's got 4 minor rewards. I think that's a horse that you want to look at. He's going to take money each and every time he goes out there. He needs a lot of things to go well for him. He's just not my cup of tea on top. I think he's one that you can key underneath. But as far as a win wager is concerned, Inspector Lindley is no mas for me. I thought he was a vulnerable favorite in the Grade 3 Kent, and ultimately he ended up losing. He finished 3rd as the 2-1 second choice in that spot. So I think the 2 vulnerable favorites were good. They did get a piece, but they weren't able to actually prevail and get the job done on top. As far as the 2 Indiana races that we went over, kind of chalky. Let's see if the 3 races that we go over from the spa are any different. We've got 2 that are going to come up this afternoon. So this show may be a little bit on the less timely side than I normally go with races on Saturday and Sunday. But at the end of the day, you're going to have us on DRF Live all day tomorrow, starting at 4 Eastern, bringing you right through Saratoga and Del Mar, and 1 race from Woodbine. But My point is, when we come back, we've got 2 races from this afternoon at the spot, as well as one, the Grade 1 Diana tomorrow afternoon. Stay with us, the Matt Bernier Show.
Here's They're off in the Breeders' Cup Classic. Private Zone has run a 45 flat half mile and has opened up 2.5 lengths. Private Zone's got the lead close to home and he's all by himself. Private Zone wins the Forgo.
Does your online wagering platform want you to win? If they did, wouldn't they help you win? At DRF Bets, we're all about raising your game. That's why we give our players the data, tools, and know-how that no other service can. DRF Bets is more than a place to wager. It's a platform to help you play better and win more. Brought to you by the folks who love racing as much as you do.
Quite frankly, everyone should sign up for DRF Bets. The 5 great reasons to join DRF Bets is a sign-up bonus. That's number 1. You're going to get money right in your account, right off the bat, so you can go out and play the races. After that, you have rewards, HD video, free PPs, and then it's very easy to get your money in and out, so you can bet when you want. I want everything to be easy, and DRF Bets makes it easy for me.
Get a $25 free bet just for giving DRF Bets a try. That's $25, no strings attached. Part of a $200 all-cash bonus. New players get up to $100 in free bets, plus a $100 bet and get bonus. That's $200 in bonuses from the only online wagering site offering free DRF PPs. Find out more at drfbets.com/freebet.
12:18 East Coast, 9:18 West Coast, the Matt Bernier Show on DRF Live on opening day at Saratoga Racecourse. Highlighted by 2 graded stakes events. You've got the Grade 3 Schuylerville for 2-year-old fillies. You've got the Grade 2 Lake George for 3-year-old fillies on the turf. Those are 2 of the 3 races that we're going to go over here in this handicapping segment. If you want to follow along on Twitter, I'm at Bernier_Matt. You can give me opinions. You can tell me I'm an idiot. You can tell me I'm great. Or you can just talk about whatever. Sports, just don't talk about politics because I don't want to hear it and I think it's nonsense. Let's get into the important stuff. Not the politics. Horse racing. Opening day at the Spa. We're going to go over 2 races this afternoon, 1 race Saturday afternoon. The Grade 1 Diana is that one. Let's start off, though, with the Grade 3 Schuylerville. If we could throw up the entry card. For those of you, again, that are unfamiliar with how this works, on the far right, those are my odds. That's what I would envision as fair value for these animals. Not the morning line odds. Travis Stone is making the morning line at Saratoga this year. Those are certainly not his odds. These are my odds, what I would think I would want to bet them at. And now, Craig and Brandon, you're going to have to work with me here. Leave this up because we've had some scratches already. And here's the beauty of this show being live. If you're listening to the podcast, YouTube, SoundCloud, DRF.com, iTunes, you're just going to have to kind of work with me here. There has been a scratch of the 7, Platinum Spark. She is not going to be running this afternoon. So you're going to take her out. Now, at 13-1, I had assigned her about a 7% chance. That means that I need to take the 7% and allot that everywhere else to ultimately add up to 100 points. For those of you that don't know how a morning line works compared to a value line, the morning line should add up to 100 plus the takeout. So it's usually going to be in that 117 to 120 range. The value line has to add up to 100 even. It can't be above, it can't be below. It's got to be 100 on the nose. So the 7 Platinum Spark is out. Now this is what my updated odds look like. The 1 Olive Branch from 5-1 to 9-2. The 2 Inspired Flight stays at 9-1. The 3 Lightning Dove stays at 6-1. 4 Sweet Loretta has gone from 6-1 to 5-1. The 5 Made Me Shiver, I'm keeping her at 4-1. The 6 Summer Sally stays at 19-1. The 8 Fun stays at 16-1. And the 9 Harlan's Thunder has gone from 13 down to 10-1 as far as my line is concerned. Let's throw up who I think the most likely winner in the live long shot in this race are, if we could. I think the most likely winner is the 5 Made Me Shiver. I didn't give her any more added points as far as my value line is concerned, simply because she does need to stretch out from 4.5 to 6 furlongs. And I'm not convinced that she's not just a running idiot, a running fool. You look at her, it looks like her hair's on fire and she's just running at Mach 10. We'll see if she can successfully navigate the added distance. I made her 4-1. I know there's no chance that she's ever going to sniff 4-1, so I won't be betting her. A live long shot, I think, is the 2 Inspired Flight. Comes up for Phil Schoenthal. I thought the debut score down at Laurel Park going 5/8 was very, very visually impressive. She didn't have to love being down on the inside. A lot of 2-year-olds don't appreciate being in tight like that. And she was not only headed, she was passed by probably about a half length. Battled back, super game on the inside. It sounds like that most recent workout for her was very good. That bullet in 47 on July the 14th. I think she's got a really good look in here. I made her 9-1. I think she's going to be well above that. I think she's a horse that I'm looking to use maybe underneath and maybe in some exotics as well. So I think a live long shot in this race is the 2 Inspired Flight. I think the most likely winner is the 5 Made Me Shiver. If you watch the video that Mike Beer and I did, my pick in the race is the 1 Olive Branch for Rick Violet. I made her 9-2. I don't think she's the most likely winner. I think the inside post is tough for her, but she is my pick. My most likely winner, or I think the most likely winner, is the 5 Made Me Shiver, and I think a live long shot is the 2 Inspired Flight. If we could just take a look at the entry card one more time, fellas, and I'm going to run it down real quick again what the odds are. Changed anyway from what I had prior. Olive Branch has gone from 5-1 to 9-2. Inspired Flight has stayed. Lightning Dove has stayed 9-1 and 6-1. The 4 Sweet Loretta has gone from 6-1 to 5-1. The 5 Made Me Shiver, I think the most likely winner, stays at 4-1. Summer Sally stays at 19-1. Scratch the 7 Platinum Spark. 8 Fun stays at 16-1. And I think Harlan's Thunder goes from a 13-1 chance down to a 10-1 chance. Let's move on to the Lake George. It's a grade 2. It's for 3-year-old fillies going a mile and 16th on the turf. I think it's a really fun race. Now, this one's had some significant scratches as well. Let's throw up the entry card if we could. You're going to have to keep in mind that the 4, Enjoy Yourself, is a scratch. The 7, Floridora, is a scratch. The 10, Try Your Luck, is a scratch. The 11, Tintype Gal, is a scratch. Now, these are how the odds have changed for me anyway. The 1, Thundering Sky, has gone from 24-1 down to 19-1. The 2, Elysia's World, has gone from 5-1 to 7-2. The 3, Diamond Field, stays at 3-1. The 5, Ancient Secret, has gone from 7-1 to 6-1. The 6, Sky My Sky, has gone from 13-1 to 10-1. 8, Bachami Piccola, has gone from 24-1 to 12-1. The 9, Outsider Art, has gone from 49-1 to 24-1. And the 12, Gone Away, has gone from 12-1 down to 10-1. Now, again, a lot of things can change, and the gist behind this is, with a value line, it has to add to 100 points. Can't be above, can't be below. When you get scratches, you got to tweak the line. You got to keep going on with it. So I think the most vulnerable favorite in this race, and I don't know who's truly going to be the favorite. I think it's a wide open race. I think a vulnerable favorite is the 5, Ancient Secret, for Chad Brown. I'm not convinced that added ground is going to be good for her. You look at the pedigree. Look, Kentharos is doing really well early on as a sire. I think he's going to be a 6 or 7 furlong sort of sire. I think a live long shot in this race, particularly with the pace scenario, is the 6, Sky My Sky, from Mark Casse. You look at it, Leperoux has been aboard for the 2 Gate to Wire victories. He's 2 for 2 on her. I think they have one way to go and one way only, and that's right to the front and try and take this field Gate to Wire. I think she's got an interesting sort of outside chance at big odds. I made her 10-1 again with the changes. If you watch the video, and actually if you haven't watched the video yet, you're going to get to see it at the end of this show, because we're going to show you the formulated race of the day for Friday that Mike Beer and myself did. I think the 3, Diamond Fields, is a major, major player in this race. I picked her. I am hoping to bet her. I've made her 3-1. In many ways, I made her the most likely winner, but it's a race that is just so contentious. I don't want to go out in there and throw something like that out there. But the 3, Diamond Fields, I'm very interested in. Tommy Stack knows what he's doing, sending the horses over here. Junior Alvarado on turf has just got an electric sort of ROI. So let's just take a look one more time, if we could, at the entry card, and I'll run them down. We're going to be a little bit heavy on time for this segment. But the 1, Thundering Sky, is now 19-1. The 2, Elysia's World, is now 7-2. Diamond Fields, the 3, is 3-1. Scratch the 4, Enjoy Yourself. 5, Ancient Secret, is 6-1. 6, Sky My Sky, is 10-1. Scratch the 7, Floridora. 8, Bachami Piccola, is down to 12-1. 9, Outsider Art, is 24-1. And the 12, Gone Away, is 10-1. You're scratching the 10, Try Your Luck, and the 11, Tintype Gal. Let's quickly move on to the featured event tomorrow afternoon at the Spot. It's the Grade 1 Diana. You've got a field of 10. Luckily, we don't need to go back through and change any of the odds just yet, because I don't know who's going to scratch and who isn't. Let's take a look at the field of 10. This is what I have as far as odds are concerned, what I think fair odds are. This is a very, very contentious race. Beer and I talked about it. I said you can go 15 different ways in a 10-horse field. I think all 10 horses have a legitimate chance to win this race. I think you can go so many different ways, and I wouldn't argue with anyone. I think a vulnerable favorite is the 2, Miss Temple City. She's 3-1 in the morning line. I think she's going to take a fair amount of money. Don't know that she'll go any lower than that, but I just look at it and say I don't think she's got such a great edge, and I don't know where her Maker's 46 Mile came from. She's always been a sort of mid to high 90 horse, not the 108 that she earned that day. I think a live long shot is the number 9, Reina de Bateria. I've never been a big fan of this filly, but I have to admit I thought her Just a Game was a very good performance. She was wide. I know there was a really, really strong, swift pace for her to close at. Still thought she ran a bang-up race that day. I think she's a live long shot, and I truly mean a long shot at 24-1. I wouldn't want her anything in that 10 to 15 range, but if you give me 20 plus, I think she's interesting to use underneath. One more time, let's take a look at the odds and the entries if we could. I think it's a very, very fun race. My pick in this race is Deceited, the 6. I think she's got a big shot in here for Arad and Chad. Chad has 4 of the 10, and all 4 of them have a chance. But I look at it and say, Miss Temple City, if you beat me, you beat me. I know I'd never get 7-1, and I'm not going to be betting her in this spot. And I think a live long shot is right there in front of you, the number 9, Reina de Bateria in the Grade 1 Diana on opening Saturday up at Saratoga Racecourse. I'm going to take a really quick break. When we come back, we're going to wrap this show up. We'll give you the slate to see what's to come tomorrow afternoon on DRF Live with myself and Mike Beer, starting at 4 o'clock Eastern. And then we'll also just lead you right in to the full analysis of the Grade 2 Lake George. Again, pre-scratches, unfortunately, but it's the Friday Formulator race of the day here on DRF Live. Stay with us.
Here's Machono! They're off in the Breeders' Cup Classic. Private Zone has run a 45 flat half mile and has opened up 2.5 lengths. Private Zone's got the lead close to home, and he's all by himself. Private Zone wins the Forgo.
Does your online wagering platform want you to win? If they did, wouldn't they help you win? At DRF Bets, we're all about raising your game. That's why we give our players the data, tools, and know-how that no other service can. DRF Bets is more than a place to wager. It's a platform to help you play better and win more. Brought to you by the folks who love racing as much as you do.
1228 East Coast, 928 West Coast, the Matt Bernier Show on DRF Live. If you're watching on live.drf.com, thank you for doing so. If you listen podcast version, SoundCloud, YouTube, drf.com, and now iTunes. We're going to really quick wrap this thing up. We're going to take a look. Let's see what the slate looks like for tomorrow afternoon as far as DRF Live is concerned. Starting at 4 o'clock Eastern, myself and Mike Beer, we're going to bring you through all the day's action. We are heavy. Del Mar, Saratoga, throw in one graded stakes event from Woodbine. Unfortunately, you see the timing of it all. We're going to be on, we wrap things up just a shade after 8 o'clock. The San Diego is going to go off at about 9:10, I believe, tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow night, depending on where you are. We're going to have the boys in the back in the production room throw that race up, the preview that we did for the race of the day, after we sign off on live. So we won't actually be on live for the California Chrome Dortmund matchup, but we've got all sorts of great action for you from both Saratoga, Del Mar, and as well as the graded stakes race from up north of the border at Woodbine. And really, that kind of wraps up today's show. Again, the intro, we were a little bit choppy. We had some issues with some technical things. Guess what? Opening day at the spot, everyone's having technical issues. We're all excited. We're trying to get things straightened out. We're going to be good to go. Next Friday, you're going to want to stay tuned and pay attention. The show is going to be on normal time, noon Eastern, live from Monmouth Park. Don't know who we're going to have for guests just yet, but we're going to be there probably, depending. I don't know if it'll be a half hour or an hour. We're still trying to figure out logistics, but live from Monmouth Park, the Matt Bernier Show, previewing, obviously, Sunday's main event, the Grade 1 Haskell, the return of Kentucky Derby winner Nyquist, the return of Gun Runner, and plenty of other good horses down at the Jersey Shore. Again, thank you for watching. If you're on DRF Live, you listened to the podcast, YouTube, SoundCloud, DRF.com, iTunes, ESPN.com, so many different ways of finding it. Happy opening day at the Spa, and in honor of it, the Formulator race of the day for Friday. Mike Beer and myself took a look at it, the Grade 2 Lake George from the Spa. Best of luck.